I think the thing that's the hardest is to realize, like, I'm a pretty smart person, and I didn't figure this out till I was 40 years old. And I'm watching the same thing happen with my stepkids, and I feel completely helpless to do anything about it.
Welcome to the Anti-Alienation Project. I'm Maddie, and here on my project I talk about all things related to parental alienation. Last year I discovered the truth that I had been alienated from my dad for 20 years by my mom. Since then, I've been on a journey to recover from this abuse, rebuild my relationship with my dad, and speak out against this very damaging form of abuse. As many people know, I have started a support group for former alienated children, and it's been quite an impactful resource for me, and I've gotten good feedback from others as well. Today I'm sharing a video from someone in the support group with her permission, of course. As I watched this video, I had a very emotional reaction, and I knew that people need to see the pain it causes. Just a big shout out to this wonderful friend who was so courageous enough to share in a vulnerable way the damage that this does. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Okay, so I'm just trying to process some things and decided to do a video of it. Probably delete it. But I've been learning about parental alienation because over the last year, I've started recognizing that's what's going on with my stepkids.
I want to mention real quick that in the support group, 3/4 of people, or maybe even more than that, are now targeted parents. So this reflects Amy Baker's statistic from one of her studies that 50% of alienated children will go on to become targeted parents. It's really sad. In my opinion, this should be the last way someone figures out they've been through parental alienation.
No matter what we do, even the nice things we do for them, it's always treated as suspect. Everything we do is wrong. And especially any kind of consequences or discipline, it's all treated as though we don't love them and we hate them. And so that's been really hard. We've tried everything with them, and they're convinced that we don't love them. And so that was really frustrating for me, because we've tried so hard and I've tried so hard. But it's making me recognize some things in my own life that it's a little overwhelming, because I was a daddy's girl my whole life. My dad was the best person I knew, and I adored him and had him up on this pedestal. And then we built a house together after I went through my divorce. I was a single mom and decided to build a house, and he offered to help me. And everything was great until after we got started. And it was probably a few months into it. I think I'd learned how to stand up for myself for the first time in my life and have boundaries with people. That's something I'd never learned. And I had spent a lot of time learning about emotional and psychological abuse and manipulation and all of those things. And so at first my dad and I started building together, and everything was wonderful, like it had always been with our relationship. I think I was always convinced that my dad loved me more than anyone else.
That's what my mom convinced me of too. This is common for alienators to convince the alienated child that not only do they love you more than anyone else does, but they're the only person who truly loves you, the only person who has always truly been there for you. It's another way that they isolate the child.
I think I had stood up to my dad, and he did not take that well. There was decisions that had to be made on this house that I felt like I should have the right to make, because I was paying for this house. And I wanted things a certain way, and he would completely disregard me on things and just be like, no, we're doing it my way, and basically punish me if I didn't go along with him and act like he was the most wonderful person in the world. And so I called my sister after a few months and just said, I feel like I'm back in an abusive relationship and I don't know what's going on. And only this time it's with my dad, because he had never treated me like that before. And my sister was like, well, don't you remember how abusive dad was to our mom? And I couldn't remember. So that was kind of when I started seeing that maybe he wasn't as wonderful and healthy.
This is something I've talked about before, the process of disillusionment that you need to have with the alienator. It sounds like her process of being disillusioned by her alienator happened pretty suddenly. For me, it did happen, I would say, over a decade. It was a very slow-moving process for me, but it's interesting how everybody's experience is different, and it seems like hers happened pretty quickly. My heart just goes out to her so much right now because she's in the thick of it, and just like I was last year. And I would say the first few months when you figure everything out, at least for me, were the worst.
And then last fall, some things came to light that made me realize that he wasn't a safe person to have a relationship with, and he wasn't a safe person to have my kids around. So that was really devastating for me because he was one of the people that I really felt like had my back and loved me, and I loved more than anyone else, maybe other than my kids. And my mom passed away almost 8 years ago. And I remember when she passed away just feeling like the thing I was sad about was not losing my mom, but losing any chance that we'd ever have a close relationship, because my entire life I was convinced that my mom didn't love me. And I remember being grateful that it was my mom who died and not my dad, because I couldn't imagine my life without my dad. I've been doing a lot of research on parental alienation, and a couple weeks ago I watched a video by the Anti-Alienation Project, and it was talking about brainwashing and how cults will use different tactics to brainwash people. And like all the pieces started falling together, and I realized that a lot of those tactics were exactly what my dad had used with my relationship with my mom my whole life.
I'm just having shiver bumps. I mean, I'm so sorry for her. The fact that she doesn't get the chance to reconnect with her mom is a tragedy. It is a cult. Like if you just do a quick search with the BITE model, that's how they control you. That's how they brainwash you. It's an acronym. It's to control your behaviors, to control your the information you have, to control your thoughts and your emotions. I feel so bad for her. She doesn't get the chance to reconnect with her targeted parent. And that breaks my heart, because reconnecting with my dad, rebuilding our relationship, the fact that I talk to him almost every day now, I love him and he loves me and he's forgiven me. Even though I know deep down it wasn't my fault, he's forgiven me, and that means something, and that has helped me. And she will not get that closure. And I hope that she can reach out to other family members on her mom's side who can assure her it's not your fault. It was never your fault. Your mom loved you. And if she were here, she would forgive you in an instant. Because to hear those words is crucial for an alienated child to move forward and heal. I want people to listen to her story and to know that this is common, and it should not be common. What ends up happening as an alienated child when you learn the truth, your relationship with the parent you trusted and thought loved you was hurting you and destroying you the whole time. And in her case, the loving, healthy-minded parent is gone. This is a tragedy.
It's a lot to wrap your mind around, realizing that you believed a lie your whole life. I remember always seeing other mothers and daughters and just wishing that I'd have that same closeness with my mom. And a lot of people after she passed away told me that, how much my mom loved me and loved all of us kids and her grandkids. And I remember just thinking, you might think that, but that's not really true. Because I was absolutely convinced that my mom didn't love me. And now I'm realizing that the reason that I believed that was because of my dad and the things that he told me. Like, telling me that my mom was just too selfish. Like, she was too selfish, and she didn't have any patience because her mom had never had any patience, so she didn't like kids. Like, just all these comments all the time, my whole life. And realizing, I think the thing that's the hardest is to realize, like, I'm a pretty smart person, and I didn't figure this out till I was 40 years old. And I'm watching the same thing happen with my stepkids. And I feel completely helpless to do anything about it. Like, for a while, I just felt frustrated with them because I'm like, look at all the things we're doing for you. Like, look at how we're showing you that we love you. And I didn't understand why they couldn't see it. And now I'm realizing why. Because I couldn't see it either. And it's just really heartbreaking. Because I don't know that I can help them.
I wanted to share this video because I wanted you to see, I wanted you to hear your despair. I wanted you to hear the pain. I wanted you to hear what it's like. She is not alone. She is not alone. Everything she expressed in this video, I have too been grappling with. It's something I might be dealing with for a very long time. Others, many others, are going through this grieving process. You've been robbed of a parent that you so desperately wanted to love you your whole life, and they did, but you were brainwashed, manipulated to believe they didn't love you, that they abandoned you. The world needs to see this. The world needs to know. She's a smart lady, but when it's your own parent, they can pull a fast one on you. The only thing that you have done in this situation was to trust one of your parents, which is the most natural thing to do in the world. We are not stupid for wanting to believe that our parent loved us. I also wanted to make this video because I think a lot of people are in this position. They're alienated from their own kids, or they're alienated from their stepkids, or their partner is alienated from their kids. Either way, they experience parental alienation from the parent's point of view, and that wakes them up to the fact that they were alienated as kids. And if you're in that position, like my friend here, my best advice to you is to focus on your own healing. It might feel really counterintuitive because you're probably really caught up in your child or your alienated stepchild and the heartache and the pain that they're going through. It might feel like it's easier problem to fix is them, but you need to focus on your own healing so that you can become the strongest, healthiest, happiest version of yourself, living your most wonderful life, so that when they figure out the truth, you'll be able to take them by the hand and say, listen, I've been where you're at, and I figured out how to get out. You will be that force in their lives. You're not alone. Never, ever, 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 ever give up. This is the reality of parental alienation, and it is a slap in the face for anyone to deny that this abuse exists. Whether or not you usually leave comments on my videos, please, if you can, leave a supportive, encouraging message in the comments section for this video for my friend here. Let her know she's not alone, how different the trajectory of our lives may have been if one of our parents could have put the love for us before the hatred of our other parent.